This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
And welcome back, everybody. Fortunately, nowadays, a lot of people are comfortable going for therapy and working on some challenges that they have. Back in the day, people were kind of hesitant to even admit, I have a therapist. Now, if you say, listen, I'll catch up with you later, I'm going to have an appointment with my therapist, it's viewed as, wow, you're taking care of yourself. This is fantastic. But still, there are many that don't seek therapy for a number of reasons. We're going to talk about those reasons today. She is an amazing psychotherapist with Pressman and Associates. Uh, Helps many in many areas, even those who have, as I've learned, involved in a car accident. That's one of her niches to help you get back to life because it can be very impactful. There's a lot going on there, even with a car accident, but also life in general. Miriam Rosario is back with us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Real good. Real good. This is, I believe, a topic that is overdue. We really need to dig into this. What are some of the reasons you hear that people avoid therapy or quote unquote are afraid to go to a therapist?
It really depends on their background, right?
Hmm.
So sometimes there's a stigma behind going to therapy and feeling like I can't do it myself and I need to go and get some professional help.
Hmm. I would imagine men more than women would be the ones that shy away. Would you say that's true?
I think so. I believe that that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You think a lot of shame is involved in that too, where somebody feels that, I can't do it alone. I'm not going to rely on somebody else. I'm going to tell them all my problems and my secrets and everything, and that now I'm weak. Now I'm
Right.
weak.
Yes, I believe that to be true. And we had discussed that a little bit in a previous podcast. And I think that when men call and they know that they need therapy, I think that's great. But I do find that there are actually more women in therapy than there are men.
Yeah.
I think because of that feeling of shame and feeling like they're weak. And it's a shame because therapy is not really about that, you know?
No, it's actually the reverse of that because you're looking to improve yourself. We don't look
Right.
at it that way, though. We
No.
don't. And it's always been said that men sometimes aren't emotional or they hide their emotion. They don't want to open up. I've shared with you that I'm in a men's group, and we're just we support each other. We support the community. We talk about leadership. A lot of shadow work comes up. And last night, a lot of what we were talking about is being masked down and how many men have the mask up or maybe half down, or it depends on the whole situation. With the therapist, obviously you should be man or woman, mask down and be comfortable talking. Um, how do you get to that point? Let's say it doesn't matter who you are. You're thinking about going to a therapist. You're a little uneasy about sharing certain things. Is there a way to get past that?
Well, I think the way to get past that is to actually talk about how you're feeling and maybe reach out to connect with some therapists and
Hmm.
see what that process is like and see how they feel. Because really, the beginning of the treatment begins with that first conversation.
You know, that's a great point where it's okay to talk about how you don't want to talk.
Yeah,
Why not? That's all part of it, and that could be the starting point. Hey, Miriam, I really don't want to tell you a lot. I'm very uncomfortable with that. Uh, I feel I need some help, but even just talking about that can be the
right.
door opener to the rest. And listen, it's nothing you've never heard before, I'm sure, about people opening up.
You are correct.
Hmm.
And I think that it's very important that you are comfortable because when you go to therapy, it's going to be important to be vulnerable in order to talk about what it is that you need help with. You
Yeah.
know, and it's not to say that you don't have the ability to solve problems. It's just that at times when we're emotionally invested in whatever the situation may be, it's very hard to be objective about it, to step out of it and look at it. And it's very easy. Well, I think it's helpful, and I'm biased because I'm a therapist, to be able to talk about it because once you are talking about it, you hear it for yourself in a different way, and you have the possibility of having a different perspective on it.
I have a different perspective now that you said that, because those of us who are uncomfortable opening up in front of a therapist and all of that, do you call your friend? You talk to a family member? I
Mm.
know my best friend knows everything. I tell him everything. It's like,
Hmm.
we get together once a week for a burger and a beer, and we just BS about whatever, what's going on here, what's going on there. You're okay doing that. Why not do it to a therapist? Um, and again, I want to say you've heard just about everything. So those of us that sit there and say, oh, she's going to hear my situation. She's going to judge me. She's going to like, this is a very person. You've heard everything. It, you're immune to it. I would have to imagine at that point. Yes, you're listening, but you're already thinking about how you can help somebody, not about that specific situation that that person is uncomfortable about, right?
Right, right. And I think, especially with the first appointment and even with the first conversation, is really about relaying to them
Mm,
that it's about helping, it's not about judging. You
yeah.
know, because we've had our own experiences within our lives, and there are things that we are all embarrassed about, or embarrassed to talk about, or ashamed to admit. But that's when the healing begins, is when you're able to just actually talk about the different things that you know would be helpful to get some clarification on or to get an objective view. And there are some people who are highly functioning emotionally and they understand that process. And so they use therapy in a different way. But to get to that point, it's just going to be important to talk about it. And there are people also that say, well, if I come here and I tell you everything, like what's the difference between telling my best friend? I can just tell them for free.
Yeah. And your best friend's going to tell you what you want to hear, not
Right.
what you need to hear. And they're always going to view it from a certain angle. You have a different view of it.
Hmm.
And that makes all the difference right there. Quite honestly, when I talk to my best friend, and we've been friends since middle school, I know how he's going to respond. Everything I say to him, he's telling me what I want to hear.
Yes.
It's more of a, I just want to purge it. Can you believe what happened?
Yes.
And you usually know what's coming back. Why do you tell your friend? Because it's safe, because you know what's coming back, in
Mhm.
terms of the response. With a therapist, it's going to be a different view. No judgment. You may see a situation. I know I have, talking to therapists in the past. I didn't see it that way. And I think that's what the beauty of it is. And then, of course, along with all the training and everything, um,
Yeah.
you can guide somebody along, how to
Hmm.
deal with it. Um, what about being anxious about opening up? I mean, you're a stranger until somebody gets to know you better. Any thoughts on that? How do you feel more comfortable talking about certain things?
Well, it all goes in alignment with how like, I do therapy with somebody. Like I understand and I know because I'm human and it's also hard for me to be vulnerable. Like I understand that process. So when sitting with somebody, I sit with them where they are. So if they are anxious about talking about something, then I don't press it. I say, okay, that's fine. Whenever you're ready, what else would you like to talk about at this time? And
Hmm.
I give them the opportunity to pick and to talk because it's really client centered. So whatever it is that they need to talk about at that moment is what we talk about. I don't really force the issue. Now, it's a little bit different if they're in crises and they're not speaking in safe terms, then I become much more direct,
Hmm.
but I also explain that to them. So I don't like to be pushy. I like to wait for when the patient is ready to talk about whatever it is they need to talk about because I understand that a relationship still needs to be built for them to feel that trust and to feel comfortable.
What about, well, you just mentioned emotions. A lot of stuff can come up that may be painful from somebody's past or something in a current situation, and they're uncomfortable about talking about reliving that pain. Do they need to? And how do you handle that?
It really depends on how fresh it is and where they are because really you know how you feel. You know what you're ready to talk about. And if it's something that they want to talk about, I will say, if you need help talking about it, I will do that. Just let me know. And
Hmm.
if I know that it's painful, then I will, and they start talking about it, then I will slow them down when they need to, and I will ask them to take a deep breath, and I will distract them just for a second to get them outside of their head so that they're able to compose themselves to be able to finish.
So if somebody says to you, or they're thinking to themselves, I don't know, I don't want to go to a therapist. I can deal with it myself. I can do this. What do you say to somebody like that?
It depends on how much information that I have. If I think that they really need help and I know who they are, then I would strongly recommend that they reach out to someone. I am not in the business of being intrusive, so I will just leave it at that. I mean, I think that therapy in and of itself is a very important step to take, and it's scary. So, if it's going to take that person time, then allow that time to be so that that person doesn't have a bad experience with it, doesn't feel pressured,
Hmm.
because it's not the same going to therapy when you feel like you are pushed to do it.
What about somebody that hasn't come to you but is holding back because they are saying that, like, you know what? I'll figure this out myself. I'm not going to talk with anybody. I can do this on my own. We really can't, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, it really depends on their emotional maturity. But again, I wouldn't be pressuring them to do it.
Yeah.
I would just state it and I will leave it at that because people tend to come around when they need to. They know when it becomes much more serious.
What would you want somebody to know that's thinking that they may need a therapist, but they're not 100% sure?
That is a good question. Um, I would say to them, I would just talk with them. I would listen to what their thoughts are and what their reservations are about the therapist, what's going on with them, and then I would make my recommendations from there. It has to be more of an informative response.
Hmm. I'm even thinking too that if you're thinking that you may need therapy, you probably do. If you're already at that point where you're pondering it, and what do we want? We want to feel safe, right? That's like the number one thing for all of us, since the day you were born. Um, you don't know what to expect. If you've never gone to a therapy session, you don't know what to expect. So I
Right,
get it can be a little uneasy. What's it going to be like? What kind of questions? Am I going to get interrogated? Again, you don't know because
right.
if you've never been there. Would you suggest that if somebody is uneasy, totally understandable in the beginning, that maybe do a virtual session as opposed to in person where you're in your own environment, you feel more comfortable as opposed to being in the room with somebody else?
I think that that's the possibility of being more comfortable with it, you know. I think it really depends again too on where your home is or wherever you are that you're going to be doing the therapy from to make sure that it's private and that
Hmm.
you feel free enough to speak about what it is that you need to talk about. And that's where going to a completely different location where you know that no one is around that can
Mm.
hear you or interrupt, then, it becomes a safe environment. I mean, my office is a very peaceful setting, and I created it that way because I didn't want to overstimulate anyone that's coming in for a session. So I just have this ginormous picture on the wall of a tree and the sun shining through it where they sit. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I have some crystals around and sort of fantasy things because our mind is already cluttered with things. And so that would be the difference in being in your own
Mm.
space as opposed to being like if you came to my office.
Okay, so here comes the question regarding your office. Watching TV, movies for decades. There's the couch where you lie down on the couch. The therapist at Sopranos, Dr. Melfi, right? It's it's not like that, is it?
Well, I do have a couch in my office.
Well, I guess if somebody if they're more comfortable and that makes you more relaxed, I don't know if that would do it for me. I'd
Yeah,
rather be sitting in.
yeah, because my orientation is psychoanalytic, but I don't have a traditional couch. What I have in my office is a chase or a chaise. So there's that option. Then I have two other chairs, and
Sure,
then I have my chair, and so some people will definitely sit on a chair, and other people prefer to lay on the couch.
sure.
So yeah, I mean, and it's still very peaceful. Like I don't have a lot of things up just for the point of when you come into my office, I don't want you to have anything else in your mind that's going to stimulate you more than you already have.
This is because you're an empath and you're plugged in and you're intentional about the whole situation. I never even thought of that. That, we have some decorations, but you kind of minimalize it because it's just more stuff going on. Yeah, I never saw
Right.
it that way. Now, you mentioned I guess a forte and accreditation with a type of therapist you are or can practice. How do we know where we go? Like, all right, I'm going to just Google therapist or whatever. How do I know what I'm looking for?
Well, it depends on the information that you have. Again, as far as the different types of orientation that different therapists practice. And typically, if you're going to go with your insurance, you go onto your website in the directory, there's always information about that therapist. You can always call your insurance company too and tell them what you're looking for, and then they'll provide a list for you. You can go on to Psychology Today and look at the different therapists that are local. And typically, you start with, do you want a male or do you want a female? Do you want CBT? Do you want psychoanalytic? Do you want EMDR? Do you want, depends on what you want, talk therapy?
Hmm.
And you start to create what it is that you want in a therapist.
Those things that you just said, ZBT or whatever. I'm bad at acronyms. So, what what are the different types?
So, cognitive behavior therapy is CBT,
Okay,
so that's the most popular.
is that just regular? I'm not minimizing anything, but I'm just saying, is that talk therapy?
It is talk therapy. It's not my area of expertise. My understanding is that it's a way of changing the way that you're thinking so that you change the behavior,
Okay.
okay? To help as you move forward. And then there's dialectical behavior therapy as well, and that I believe is more mindfulness, being more present. And there's like questions that you can do. There are groups that you can go to, and You have like a workbook and you have homework with that. I believe with CBT, you may have homework with that as well. And then there are different techniques that you can do for trauma. And so that's the EMDR that you can do, or hypnotherapy that you can do for helping with trauma, and the EFT tapping as well.
Gotcha.
It changes your neurological function. So if you're stressed and you go through a series of tapping, it helps to calm your nervous system. So if you're feeling stressed, by the end of it, you are feeling very calm. It can change your response from flight or fight to just being calm.
I've heard that EMDR is also very impactful for people with PTSD.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Um, Starting point, it's reach out to a therapist. That might not be the right fit at the beginning. And that's the other part I guess we should talk about. It's a relationship.
Yes.
This is not like pulling your car in to get fixed. Although that's a relationship too. If you don't feel comfortable with the garage you bring your car to, you're probably going to turn around and go to another one. This is the same. You're talking with somebody, you're sharing some personal experiences. You have to feel comfortable. Um, do you find even in the first visit that it's almost a get to know you kind of thing?
Yeah.
And you're maybe just scratching the surface of what somebody is dealing with or whatever their goal is. Do you find a lot of times that's what happens in that session?
Yes, that's always actually what happens in that session. In that session, I ask, is this your first time coming to therapy? And if it's the first time, then I give an explanation on what to expect in that session. We go through general information, and then at the second appointment, we start working on whatever it is that you want to dive into,
Yeah.
and that's typically my explanation. And then I go through my questions and they answer them. And then I check in with them and ask them how I'm doing.
Oh,
How did
wow.
the session go? Yes. Yes.
That's really cool. I never even thought of that.
Yeah.
What makes you different? Wow.
Mhm.
Um, it's all about feedback too, and maybe setting the expectations in the beginning, because you go for the first time, you've never gone before, you don't even know what to expect. You might think, well, I'm going to feel great when I walk out of here. You might feel better. Um, but it's getting to know somebody first, where that's the starting point, and getting over the vulnerability that comes along with it. Think about
Yeah.
those times where you went to the doctor and it was a full body skin cancer exams. Like
Mhm.
they've seen everything. It's okay. Like that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've heard a lot too, where you move past what the situation is. It's more about how you can help somebody. How do we connect with you? What's the best way, Miriam?
You can go to www.pippna.com, or you can call 856-548-9557.
And if you have any questions about the whole process, feel free. Instant feedback, steve@gmail.com. Keep it anonymous if you want. We'd love to hear it. We're here to help. You're here to help. And
That's right.
I appreciate that. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
We'll be
Thank
right
you.
back. Thank you.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.